Right, all. So last module, we talked about using ray interactors and doing some interesting things with selecting and hovering. I kind of wanted to show it a couple other another little kind of, I don't say trick, but like a way of kind of doing this. So here in this scene, I already have the rig set up for you. So it has the locomotion and has controllers. I have two I have two squares here, and what we're going to do is we are going to set up hover effects so that when you hover on them, you could also do it with selecting if you want. I'm just using hovering because I'm lazy and it's just easier. So what I'm going to do with this one is this orange cube is going to I have a monster here, and there's the monster, and I've unchecked it so it's not active. So it's in the scene, but it's like not visible, if that makes sense. Okay. I also have a light, the spotlight here. The spotlight is giving light to my scene. Okay, you can see it there. What I'm going to do is we're going to set this up. Now you could either make this a grabbable. I don't really want it grabbable. I just want it interactable. So what I'm going to do is we are going to use the simple interactable. So I'm going to click on this and let's do simple XR symbol interactable. And like with other ones, we're going to set the interaction layer to everything. And I'm going to scroll down to where it says interactable events, and I'm going to go to hover. Okay. Now, what do we want to occur? Well, I want to make it that when the ray hits the orange cube here, I want it to turn on the monster. Okay. So what I'm going to say is this XR has been applied to the cube, but what I'm actually really trying to affect is the monster. So I'm going to drag that there. Okay. And what we can actually do is I can actually get some of the properties of the components of this model. So for instance, things like the activeness, I can technically also pick up the transform or the mesh renderer if I wanted to. A lot of those probably wouldn't do anything particularly interesting, but the active one would actually be kind of good. So what I'm going to do is go under game object, set bool or set active. Set active is a Boolean. Okay, true or false. True means it's on, false means it's off. Currently it's set to off, which is why this is kind of grayed out or blued out. I'm going to set this to on. So what that means is when I hover, this would turn this on. Now, what would happen is if I didn't set anything else up, when I did it, it would turn it on once, and then that would kind of be it. What I'm going to do is set it up that when we stop hovering on this, that it turns it back off again. Okay, so it's kind of like a little switch. So I'm going to do exit, hover exit, and I'm going to say, okay, when someone stops hovering that, let's set this game object back to off or false. Okay, so what we're doing here is essentially using the sort of simple interaction, the hovers and the selects we talked about in the last module to kind of turn this object on and off, which could be kind of fun. I'm gonna also, in this one, we're gonna do something kind of similar. This time, this is gonna act like a switch to turn the light on and off. So the light also has an active or non-active. So by turning that on or off, what it's going to do is turn the light on and off. So what I'm going to do is let's also add a simple interactive everything. Maybe for this one, I'm going to make it a select as opposed to a hover. So it's like, okay, I'm going to click on this. And what we're really trying to affect is the spotlight, right? If you get this kind of situation where you click on something and it pops away, what you can actually do is lock it, which means this won't move while this is locked. This is kind of useful when you're kind of scrolling and you need to sort of drag things in. And I'm going to take the spotlight and I'm going to set it to game object false because it's actually already on and I want to turn it off. Actually, no, I take it back. Let's do a hover because I want to be able to set it hover and then hover exit, which I can't really do that easily here. I guess I could do select exit, but you'd have to hold down the trigger. And I think that's a little more annoying. So anyway, let's do it with hover. Sorry to confuse you. Turn this off. And then when we stop hovering, let's put the light back on. Okay. All right, so there we go. So what should happen here is when you preview this in your scene, by hovering on this, it should turn the monster on. And then when you stop hovering, you turn it off using the set active. This one is going to turn on this light that's right here. When you touch it, it'll turn the light off. And then when you stop hovering, it'll turn it back on. So you can kind of see how you could use this in a scene, especially like the light one. Maybe you have like a, I don't know, like a scary house, like a haunted house, and you want to have a light switch that like turns the light on and off or something. You could easily do something like this where there's some sort of interactable object. I'm using like a box because it's just easy, but it could be a model of like a light switch or something, or, you know, like a little chain that a light's on or a little literal light bulb, right? And it could be a nice, easy way of like creating that sort of realistic light effect. Okay, so let's preview this in the world and try it out. All right, everyone. So here I am. This is scene 2, and I got my 2 cubes here. And I got my 2. I've already have array, so I can move forward, left and right. I can turn, although you don't really need to do that for this particular lab, but you could, or exercise, but you could if you wanted to. And what I'm going to do is just literally point my array at the orange cube, which has that simple interaction script being applied to it. And what I did is I said, when I pointed this, there is a little monster model here. It's going to turn it on, and then there you go. And then when I take my cursor and I put it away, it goes away. Okay. You could also think about how I might use something like select also to do that. If you wanted it on and off, you might have to write a little script that kind of switches the Boolean back and forth. But, you know, you could do kind of something similar. Same thing here. There's a light. You can't see it, but there's a light going on here on the floor. And when I do that, you can see it turns the light off. And then when I exit the hover, the light goes back on. So you could see how we might use something like this to kind of play around with other objects in our scene just by using a simple interaction.